Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says in the Qur'an, a verse that every Muslim is aware of and should be aware of. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have created the jinn and mankind only, solely, to worship me, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we are created. This is why the jinn are created. This is why the universe that we know and that we know of was created for this purpose. This summarizes existence and its purpose. Everything else, even the things that we are intimate about, the things that we are fond of and that we feel strongly about, are details. They are an offshoot of this purpose. So anything that does not feed into the fulfillment of this purpose, of this divine purpose, is a waste. There is a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that people, or most of us, tend to misconstrue. The Prophet ﷺ says in the authentic hadith, الدنيا ملعونة ملعون ما فيها إلا ذكر الله وما والاه. This worldly life and everything in it is kept away from the mercy of Allah, is void of the mercy of Allah. Mal'una, cursed. That's what cursed means in Islam, that it is void of Allah's mercy. Except the remembrance of Allah, the dhikr of Allah, the worship, the praise of Allah, and everything that feeds into it and aligns with it. And people say, how come, other matters are void of the mercy of Allah? It's because the purpose. Allah created us to worship Him. He created the jinn to worship Him. Why are we here on earth? To worship Allah. What are we supposed to do with our life? Worship Allah. So what about our dreams? What about the beautiful memories? What about our competitions and other aspirations? What about our family life? What about my life in school, at work? What about my vacations? What about my hobbies and the things that I enjoy? What about the fun that I have in this life? Does that fall under the things that are void of the mercy of Allah? And that's a big question, and it needs to be answered. So the reality of our existence is that it exists in the first place for the fulfillment of one divine purpose. And that is to worship Allah. That is to obey Allah, to glorify Allah. And that means to love Allah, to seek Allah, to pursue the pleasure of Allah, to do the things that Allah loves, to avoid the things that Allah dislikes. That's why we're here on earth. That's our business. That's our job. And if we live in this life not conscious of this and not committed to this, and if our life is not a true reflection and commitment to this purpose, then it falls under the category that is void of the mercy of Allah. That's the seriousness of this issue. But most people get this wrong because of one main point. What is the meaning of worship? people think that their family life is not worship. They think their work is not worship. They think they're providing for their family and for their children and their dependents is not worship. They think that being good with other people is not worship. They think that the suffering and the pain that they go through in this life, if they remain patient and resilient, they think this is not worship. And that's where the confusion comes in. This hadith talks about the overall direction of life, our purpose, what should be our focus. You know, when children are young, we all ask them, what do you want to be in the future? And here I want our middle age and older brothers and sisters to bear with me, because I'm not talking to them today. I want to talk to our youth. I want to talk to our sons and daughters that we value so much. Today's khutbah is mainly addressed to them. You are created for a noble purpose. You are here on earth on a great mission, greater than any mission you carry out on Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or any of those popular video games. You have a mission of being a true hero that is greater than all of these delusional pursuits and environments and engagements that are designed to keep you small and insignificant. That's the reality of these distractions. So when a child is young and we ask them, what do you want to be in the future? We want them to talk about what? Their profession, their future profession, their career. We want them to talk about their dreams of making money and wealth and success, as if this is the ultimate meaning of their existence and their life. Yes, we will probably teach them the verse where Allah says that He created the jinn and mankind to worship Him. But that's on the side. Most of our emphasis, the message that we send to our kids, I want you to be better than your cousins, better than the child of our neighbor, better than your classmates. You should be the best. You should be the best doctor, the best engineer, the best lawyer, the best teacher, the best entrepreneur. I want you to be successful. I want you to help me raise my head high. You are successful, so you can deal with life and you can handle life. For what? For what? So if someone is going to be successful, they're going to make a lot of money, they're going to buy a beautiful house, they're going to marry and have children and die, then what? What's the point? There must be something bigger than that, and that's why we are created. This is why we are placed in this life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for a noble mission. And it is something He Himself values. And that's to love Him, to seek Him, to search for Him, to live our life for Him. That's a life of meaning. That's a life of purpose. That's a life of virtue. That's a life of generosity and accomplishment and achievement. Your career, the success of your business, the success of your family, all of that, all of these are supposed to be building blocks in the journey that you are traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because without Allah, none of that has any value. You are created for something eternal. You are created for something that transcends time and space. The consequences of the purpose that you are created for live forever, for eternity. So you can't limit your life by dedicating it to something that dies the moment you leave this life. And there is no pursuit that transcends the limits of time and space but the worship of Allah alone, for which the heavens and the earth are created. There is no noble mission that you can give your life for But the worship of Allah, the love of Allah, and the good that it brings into your life and into the life of other people and in existence in general. The worship of Allah is not only staying at the masjid or the corner of the masjid and praying rak'ah after rak'ah, although this is a great part and a great dimension of our worship of Allah. But the worship of Allah is a way of life, is a unified direction that can pull the strings of your life and give them meaning and make them virtuous. And it builds a moral standard within you that will push you away from every evil, and you will see the darkness in it. And it will encourage you to engage with everything that is good and show you the light that is in it. You can transcend the petty life of serving yourself and your base desires and living a life of fulfillment of your carnal desires to the life of fulfillment of something noble and transcendent. That's why we are here on this earth. This is what your family life means. This is what your success in your career means. And this is what it should mean. It never stands alone. Don't waste your life pursuing something that dies the moment you die. Pursue something beyond. And the lower grade of people who are pursuing their career as their ultimate goal, or their success as their ultimate goal, or their fun as their ultimate destination. There are people who waste their life with virtual reality, delusions, and here I speak to our youth. A lot of the youth pursue these video games and all of this entertainment because they think they can become a hero in that space. They want to feel that they are doing something, that they are achieving goals, that they are saving innocent people, or that they are defeating the forces of evil. These tendencies are noble and Allah put them in you. Don't waste them in a delusion, in a non-existent reality. It's an imagination. And you don't need to look far, by the way. You don't need to buy a video game or anything, any of those pursuits online of becoming an influencer or a famous person. Just look around in your life. There is a lot of opportunity for some great contribution that you can take as your path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And noble fulfillment. There's a lot of poverty in the world. There's a lot of darkness in the world. You can bring well-being to people. You can bring light to where is darkness. You can bring justice to places that are filled with oppression. Why do you have to run away from reality? If you truly possess the heart of a hero, then engage with life. These things are designed to put you on the sideline, to neutralize the impact of your life. You were created for something noble, something beautiful, for a true story of heroism. Don't waste it in your room playing video games. Don't do that to yourself. Don't suck the life of this beautiful opportunity that Allah gave you. It is more intriguing, it's more interesting when you bring positive change to this life and take your life seriously. The challenge of this life, with all the threats around it, the forces of evil, starting with shaitan, starting with all of the negative influence around you, starting with all the forces of evil that are killing innocent people, that are ruining their life, poisoning their minds and their hearts with ideologies, and with departure from morality. Don't you see an opportunity to bring about positive change? To fight the forces of evil? Don't you see you have to run to virtual reality where they guarantee that you have no impact in this life. You come into it, you walk through it, you leave it as if you never existed. All the while living the delusion that you are a hero. Because I'm done with this game. I finished all the levels. Truly, that's pathetic. You are nobody if you live for that lifestyle. Don't wait. Your life is precious. Allah gave you something so valuable, so precious. There are opportunities, and your heart will never be fulfilled. There are levels of life. There is sweetness in life that can only be attained when you live for Allah. When you use the assets that Allah gave you to do something great with this life, to bring about positive change, because that's what Allah wants from you. That's what Allah loves. That's what Allah pleased with. The Prophet ﷺ says, خِيرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَعُهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ. The best of humanity, the best of people are the ones that are more beneficial, the most beneficial to His creation. The path to Allah is full of opportunities. And it doesn't take you away from your career. It doesn't take you away from your fun. If you truly pursue Allah in this life, and if you take your life seriously, and that's the time for you to decide about this, not when you grow older. Most often when you grow older, it would be too late. You're set in your ways. It's the time. If you're a teenager, it's time to think seriously about your life and the direction you're going to take in your life. You shoulder a responsibility of your own life. Choose wisely. Don't waste this opportunity. Our younger brothers and sisters, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. And parents need to wake up and stop giving their children the wrong impression about life, that all what matters is your career and your future. Well, your career and your future is with Allah. Is when you pursue Allah, and it doesn't take you from your career, doesn't take you from medicine if you want to study it. Medicine becomes a vehicle for you to worship Allah through, and then it assumes true meaning. You want to become an engineer, you can worship Allah through that. You want to become a philanthropist, you can worship Allah through that. You want to become a teacher, you can worship Allah through that. You want to be a YouTuber, you can worship Allah through that. Any career you can think of, as long as it's halal and it brings about something positive, then it can become your path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, if you establish the acts of worship and the correct aqeedah, the correct understanding in your heart, so you worship Allah upon clarity. This is what your life is for. You will find opportunities for the heroism that you are so desperate about, that you're seeking it on your phone, on your tablet, or on your laptop, or on your PlayStation and Xbox. The people who design these things are making billions, but what's the price for that? Your life. Your life. And I'm not talking about this life here. Your eternal life that extends forever in the hereafter. They make money by wasting your true life. Don't give it to them. Your life is not cheap. Your life is not cheap, and you should not just give it away like that. And that's why Allah is going to stand you on the Day of Judgment and ask you about your life. What did you do with it? About your youth, what did you do with it? Decide today. Start at least the process of thinking seriously about your life today. All you want is video games, or playing basketball and football and soccer and all of these games. Think, oh, that's a bright life, that's a beautiful life, that's a wonderful future. These are games. They're called games. They're called games. Don't waste your life in a game. You want to play them as a hobby, go ahead. Go ahead. But take your life more. Your life is more precious than a game. Your life is a noble mission, and you should never settle for anything less than that. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. If we keep wasting our lives by thinking that our life is about our worldly success, about our career success and business success, and about enjoying our time engaging in all of these games, whether they are real or virtual, what's going to happen eventually is that the oppression that you see in the world will continue to happen. Because the bad guys are working hard. They don't play video games. They're not aspiring to be a basketball star or even a martial arts star. They're not. They're not. They distract you with these things so that they can be in control of everything. They can waste your life. They can neutralize you. They can marginalize you so they can maintain power and do what they want. And if we continue to do things like that, we'll just keep waking up when massacres happen, and all we can do, all what we have in our possession is walk out in the streets and protest. When the forces of evil are doing what they want, they're making policies, they're running nations, they're creating huge armies, and they are forcing their doom and gloom on the whole world. But you know what? We've been wasting our life playing games, thinking we're a hero. But eventually, you know what? We're taken for a ride. We're taken for a ride, and we wake up later in life helpless, unable to do anything. So what do? Let's go out on the street and protest. That's all we can do. That's not a strategic way of dealing with life. If you really care about people, then don't waste your life. Go ahead and do something positive, something constructive, something good. Take this life seriously. Be the change you want to see in the world. And the fun and the amusement that you get from that is all a lie. Shaitan laughs at you as you fall in his tricks and as you're wasting the most precious thing that Allah has given you, thinking all the while that you are a unique person in the history of the world, when in reality you have made yourself into a nobody. That's not the life of a Muslim. A heart that is filled with Allah aspires for the best. It cannot see the falsehood, the darkness, the oppression in the world, and go on its own to play games. That's not the life of a believer. So this is just a reminder to our youth, wake up. Wake up. There is a lot that Allah has put at your disposal. There is a lot that you can do to make a difference. There is a lot, but don't waste that potential. And where do you start? Where do you start? The best place to start is with the remembrance of Allah. Pray your 5 daily prayers. Pray them from your heart. Don't just go through the motions. And start reading the Qur'an on a daily basis. And do your adhkar. Always do your adhkar. Remember Allah. Say La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir 100 times every morning. Say it from your heart. Commit to it. And I promise, a month from now, your life will not be the same. Simple. Simple. Engage with Allah. And Allah will change your life. Allah will show you the way. You can't figure it out now because, pretty much we have put ourselves in the darkness. You want to ask Allah, you want to ask Allah desperately, and Allah will show you. But show the commitment by doing this dhikr at least. Stay with it every day and say it from your heart. And you will see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring light into your life and will open ways for you. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and to help us. And it's an invitation as well for parents to stop emphasizing to our children that their future is only with their career. There's a greater purpose. Career is part of it. It's not the end goal. Allahumma aghfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat. Allahumma aghfir lana dhunubana wa israfana fi amrina wa thabbit aqdamana وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم أبرم لهذه الأمة أمر رشد يعز فيه أهل طاعتك ويذل فيه أهل معصيتك ويعمل فيه بكتابك وسنة نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم كن للمستضعفين من المؤمنين في كل مكان. اللهم ارحم ضعفهم واجبر كسرهم. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم. اللهم كن للمسلمين في فلسطين وفي غزة وفي الشام وفي السودان وفي كشمير وفي الصين وفي غيرها من بلاد المسلمين. اللهم كن لهم ناصرا ومعينا. اللهم ارحمنا برحمتك. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه، واجعلنا من الراشدين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.